Zero, Season 3, Episode 10. We are 10 weeks in to 2023, and we are still talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe every Wednesday right here on the Phase Zero podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Davis, joined today by Jenna Anderson. Oh, Jenna is muted. She's saying a lot, but we can't hear it. We'll come back to Jenna in just a second. Aaron Perrine is here.
Lots of stuff is happening. People are trying to sabotage the show from shadowy dimensions beyond our comprehension. What's up, BD?
I'm telling you, bro. Listen, if you don't got haters, you're not doing it right. Coming to Jenna's microphone.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I don't know that. I blame Kang, as always. I blame Kang.
Yeah.
But no, we got a chunky show. We got a lot to talk about today, so I'm very excited for that.
It's going to be a good show. Jamie Jirak is not here today. She'll be back next week. We have been on a streak of special guests, which culminated in last week's awesome guest of Jeff Loveness, who was a super dope guy. I appreciate everybody who was friendly in the comment section. I respect people who, you're maybe not a fan of Jeff Loveness's work in Quantumania, and you're allowed to express that. I'm not saying love everything we talk about here about the MCU, but the people who were friendly in their critiques and the people who were nice and excited to see Jeff, we really appreciate that. The people who were just kind of dicks in the comments, well, we don't appreciate that, but that's Twitter. So we move on. Today is Captain Marvel's 4th birthday. It hit theaters 4 years ago today. That's crazy.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Career right there.
A lot has happened. A lot has transpired. No one could have told you after Captain Marvel came out that we would be where we're sitting right now. First of all, the show did not exist, so there's that. Thank you.
Could you imagine if we were able to do this show throughout the Infinity Saga?
Oh Lord! Oh my God!
It would be so quaint, honestly. Like we would just be like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen in Endgame?" Like the speculation would be so charming compared to where we are now.
Those months between Infinity War and Endgame would have been just ridiculous. Who knows? I remember reading all the threads about what was going to happen and what was going to transpire. Remember, it was going to be called Avengers Forever. The Russos posting cryptic images of big, giant time travel things that are not in the movie. Like, it would have been nuts.
Yeah.
My goodness. That would have been a wild time on Phase Zero. I hope, I know it's still a few years away, but I hope we get to have that kind of hype and do this on Phase Zero between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And after Secret Wars, y'all just never going to see me again. I'm out. I'm done. Look at me. I'm tired.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yesterday, I want to tell a little story.
Go ahead.
Yesterday, I was doing a junket for Luther the Fallen Son, and so that meant interviewing Idris Elba and Andy Serkis and the director and the writer, which was awesome. The Luther movie was actually I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty dark, pretty twisted. But so I'm doing this junket, and I do one interview. I interview Andy Serkis first. And then when you do these interviews over Zoom, what they do is they put you in kind of like, there's this big hospitality room where you see all the other journalists and they make sure everybody's ready to go. And then basically when you're next to interview somebody, they send you to a different Zoom room and you're just staring at a screen and it just says, you will be permitted soon. That permitted soon could be anywhere from 15 seconds to 12 minutes. You don't know. You just got to be there like, I'm ready. Like SpongeBob. I'm ready. So I'm sitting there in the Zoom room waiting to talk to Neil Cross and Jamie Payne, the writer and director of Luther the Fallen Son. And all of a sudden, I see Slack blowing up. I see Twitter blowing up. And there is some news. And all of a sudden, my Luther interview is bogged up in my mind because, Jenna.
Or no, Aaron. This was Aaron's story.
This is Aaron's news. This is Aaron's news. Aaron, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Jon Bernthal is back. The Punisher has been added to the cast of Daredevil Born Again. Per one Adam Barnhart with a pot full of coffee and a ham radio. The filming started on Monday in Yonkers. Everybody, of course, is really excited. But, of course, some of that has been tempered by the news that Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson will not be returning, or at least not supposed to return as Foggy and Karen in the new series. And that's 18 episodes expected to debut next year, probably. I don't know. For now, we just get images of Charlie Cox drinking coffee and hitting crazy stuff and learning how to do a quadruple backflip for all of our amusement. I we already heard what BD was going through. Jenna, what goes through your mind?
This was like just before my shift had started for the day, and I was just like, oh, thank God I'm not on for the craziness. But even like I was happy because like by the time I had hopped on for the day, no one had been on my like train of thought, which was, could we maybe get Punisher in Armor Wars and get the War Machine armor? Because like that seems like the kind of crazy thing to throw him into. So I was like, oh yeah, I get to write that article because nobody had written that yet. But I'm happy he's back. That was just pure chaos how that all news came out. I was just not prepared at all.
There are some times when jail cell Jim Viscardi says at here, like he says like, hey everybody now, like, and you're like, what's going on, Jim? And it's like McDonald's brought back the McRib. And there's other times where it's like, hey, everybody pay attention, and it's freaking John Bernthal returning, and it's all hands on deck.
That's so true. That is so true, man. I'm just thinking about that Hot Toys War Machine Punisher figure and the $400 I'll have to spend on it in 2026. Oh my gosh, I love those Hot Toys figures, but they do be taking a minute to get to shipping. I'm finally any day now Shang-Chi's supposed to arrive.
Wow.
So Jenna, your She-Hulk will probably be here by Secret Wars 2.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm not expecting it during the multiverse saga at this point.
So I'm hyped for the Punisher news, and there's a couple things I want to say about this. One is I know I'm not a person who's usually up here saying I want R-rated content. Like, I'm the one who was on here saying Blade could be PG-13 at work. It's fine. Deadpool could be not in a Deadpool movie rated PG-13, but in a PG-13 movie with other characters, and it could work. The Punisher, I have some thoughts, man. I don't need a PG-13 Punisher, but the Punisher season 1 and 2 and the Punisher's role in Daredevil, which are unrated but R-rated Netflix shows, are on Disney Plus right now. So I say, why not? Why can't we just do it again? It's already available, 18 episodes. I do want to see some adult-oriented content from Marvel Studios. We're going to get it with Deadpool 3, so hopefully that 2024 is the year where the MCU grows up a little bit. And I'm not saying it needs to stop being, fun for the whole family. We're getting horror films, we're getting sitcoms, we're getting this, that. Maybe some adult-oriented fanfare, more mature stuff with the Punisher. John Bernthal is the absolute man as this character. Hopefully they let him keep that up. There was something else I want to say, but I forgot. So I don't know if it comes back to me.
Well, I would like to say, too, the writing better be on point, because this is a character that's kind of fraught for a lot of us out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go.
That reminds me of what I would say. What I want to say was, I feel like the news surrounding the Marvel Cinematic Universe is more exciting than what's happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe lately. And I really want to see, like you just said, the writing be really, really great. I want to see these characters and their relationships with each other and the things that they're going through just be as exciting and as entertaining as the news of him coming back itself. So hopefully that delivers.
We can all dream. I had a long conversation about adaptation with Nick Valdez, where it's like sometimes when you wish on that monkey's paw and then you get what you want, but it's not what you exactly think you want. Let's hope we can avoid that. Jenna, what are you going to say?
No, because like I totally agree with all of that. I think that that's also my biggest worry going into Deadpool 3 is I feel like it is not going to meet fans' expectations of like Hugh and Ryan on screen together. With Punisher, I feel like it's a smaller version of that, but I do agree with Aaron of like there's such an interesting needle to thread with the character and how to portray him and what parts of him to showcase. And I'm very curious to see how they do that. I do want to talk about like the Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson part, because I feel like the internet is on fire about this. I'm in the wait and see camp. If they don't end up on the show, it's been almost a decade since we've really seen Matt in New York. We don't know what his story is. We don't know who's in his orbit anymore. If they recast these characters, I'm very curious to see what other actors bring to those roles. So as much as I love the two of them, I would also be like, I feel like there's room to have a different interpretation there. I hate this discourse because I hate the whole, like, are the Netflix shows canon discourse? And I feel like this has exacerbated it 1,000,000%.
Oh, we on this ride forever, Jen. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry. If
they just don't use the characters, the question remains unanswered.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if they do use the characters, it still kind of remains unanswered. But it seems to lean more into like, yes, this all did happen and it's all canon. I don't know. I feel like they're playing it loose on purpose because they don't want to piss anybody off who loves those shows and say, yeah, they're not canon, but they also like, I don't know. They're bringing. I'm happy that I like Karen and Frank interacting again would be cool to see. but it's 18 episodes. Just because, as I think the THR reports put it, they're not on the roll call right now. There's 18 episodes. This is going to be in production for a hot minute. So hopefully down the line, I would be more surprised if they are not in this show than if they are. I think they'll be there.
It's going to be the new Mephisto thing of like, where are Foggy and Karen? Like everyone is just going to be waiting with bated breath if that ends up being the case.
To play a weird, like, sort of devil's advocate as someone who doesn't have quite the pronounced affection for the Netflix universe, like, is it not, if you don't get Karen and Foggy because everybody loves Daredevil, right? But you do get Mike Coulter and Kristen Ritter back, is that an acceptable trade-off for everybody? Like, does that wet your whistle? Because that's crazier to me. Like, just all of them being around is like, what is happening here? I said goodbye to the good ship Netflix Marvel universe over the pandemic. Me and Adam like pushed a little paper boat out and lit it on fire for everybody. And here we are, and it could all be back.
I think that they could bring them back and not have the Netflix shows be canon. Like, I think that they could say that's a different universe. And that way, like, we all kind of expect they're going to recast people like Finn Jones, you know, and you already had Mahershala Ali and Luke Cage, and now he's Blade. So it just kind of seems like maybe that is variants over there in the Netflix shows. And some version of that happened in the MCU, but not the exact version. That's what I feel like they're doing. And so I like in terms of getting Kristen Ritter and Mike Coulter back. Mike Coulter, Columbia, South Carolina native, go Gamecocks, even though he went to FSU. Listen, I think it'd be great to have them back. I just think that I don't think we're going to get everybody from these properties. I do think that Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson will be among the returners. And I do think Kristen Ritter is going to be among those returning. Mike Coulter, I don't know, because that man's doing interviews talking like he's over it, and just like, I don't know, maybe he's just not wanting to be the guy in the interview saying, yeah, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. I want to be invited, and then doesn't get invited, which I would respect that. Like, you don't want to act like you're campaigning or something that might not happen, but he seems a bit less invested than everybody else, maybe because he might know something. This is just tinfoil hat. I don't know. But Kristen Ritter seems like, I think Kristen Ritter's coming back. I don't know about Mike Coulter.
Mike Coulter's also doing like a dozen plane sequels, probably. So at this point, like we know
right?
They're doing one. They're going to do like a whole cinematic universe. I have a feeling. So
yeah, they call it ship. Why did they call it boat?
They should call it boat.
Yeah.
Lil Yachty would have been out there trying to sue them. So Echo, we saw. We can't wait for that October tweet. And after all this news, it seems like we might be getting that. I severely hope. Man, I would really be interested if that's the one that got to stay on this year. And it would also increase my hype tenfold because I just want that story to still get its place. So we'll see. Netflix is coming to Disney Plus. It already is there, but it's gonna be running the yard next year.
It does feel like Echo has been kind of written off for next year by a lot of us. I mean, like we were all talking at the beginning of the year on Phase Zero, and now that these reports have come out that only Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2 are going to be dropping this year, that we were all like, well, Echo, yeah, that's probably going to be next year. But now that Daredevil is spring of 2024, they got to put a little bit of space in between them, right?
I mean, Daredevil's spring of 2024 for now. Like, we don't know how much everything's going to evolve. I also have been thinking a lot about like the possible writer's strike and how that could be a determining factor in a lot of this. They might want to space the Marvel and Star Wars shows out even more than they already were planning on if the writer's strike ends up being a thing. So I see Echo being like early next year, and then Daredevil just gets pushed back to maybe like the end of next year. But who knows at this point? It could all change a dozen times.
But what I'm referring to is that there was, I think it was Alakwa, it might have been her that tweeted out, I cannot wait for October. Like, what's going on there with that? I don't know. Adam, of course, caught that and was like, we need to write this. And I'm like, I agree. Like, if there is a third Disney Plus series, you need space. I think Brandon is right, between whenever Born Again would start and this year. It can't be January Echo, and then look, now Born Again is basically Echo, but without her in it, or maybe she will be in it. Who knows?
I'll be honest. I thought for sure we'd be watching Secret Invasion by now.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm glad we're not, though, because doubling up on that in Mandalorian would give me hives. So 100%. I'm so glad that we are just staggering that a little bit.
Thank you, Kofi.
Please, no Mando spoilers. I haven't watched episode 2 yet.
God bless.
All right. We're going to move on to the next topic here. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is now confirmed as the longest film in the trilogy. And I'm hearing it's the best film in the trilogy. I can't wait to see this movie. I'm hearing nothing but good things about this movie. I can't wait to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The first Guardians of the Galaxy is 2 hours and 2 minutes long. Second Guardians of the Galaxy is 2 hours and 17 minutes long. So this one is at least 2 hours and 18 minutes long, which I like because Black Panther Wakanda Forever, one of the best movies the MCU has dropped. Well, actually, is the best movie the MCU dropped last year, and it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. The other two movies, which are not nearly as good, are both 2 hours long. So I'm not saying runtime is actually a factor. John Wick was 2:49, and it's the best movie I've seen this year. That movie is phenomenal. Shazam was 2 hours. I thought it was pretty good. Like, I don't think, like, you can still make a very good movie in 2 hours. 65 was 90 minutes long. It was all right. Well, actually, I'm noticing a trend here in what I'm saying about all the movies from March 2023. But I hope Guardians of the Galaxy is 7 hours long and the full work day in the theater with all these characters before they all die. I enjoy it. I think the runtime is not the determining factor in the quality of the film. It's the pacing and why the movie needs that time. And I think James Gunn is not about to waste a minute. He's not doing this just to. There's not going to be 15 minutes of slow motion walking into the ocean. There's going to be, and that's not. I like the movie I was just referencing. I think it's great, but I do think James Gunn uses every second purposefully, and I can't wait for Guardians 3.
I was gonna make the joke that you just made. This could be 12 hours long, and I would still want more. Like I am so happy. As long as it needs to be, is going to be long enough. I feel like James is one of those creators who is able to pace things and able to get everything in the cut that he wants to get into the cut. So I'm just excited. I'm ready to cry for however many hours it ends up being.
So, somewhere Pete Davidson is crying at all this this long movie conversation. He not about that. I really do think that for some of these, because of some of the changes and some of the weird stuff that's gone on behind the scenes that we'll never truly know about, that finding the balance between 2 hours and 30 and 2:15 is probably best. Also, I kind of love, like, secretly, like, one of the big things I'm excited about for this movie is that I have no idea what the ending of this thing is going to lead to. It is like a microcosm of everything that's come out past Spider-Man Far From Home, where you just don't know what's, because like there's no more James Gunn. So what the heck is going to happen? Like in 2 hours, 18 kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, we need to build a bridge to whatever is next too for some of these characters. Who even knows? Poor Brandon. I see you down there. He's just like, I don't know what's going to happen.
I know I'm going to be hurt. I think it's going to be like 2:40. I'm fine with 2 hour 40 minutes. How long was No Way Home?
2:47, maybe.
Yeah, like it was up there. I don't mind a long movie as long as it's entertaining throughout. John Wick is 2 hours and 49 minutes, and it feels like 10 minutes. Like I can't. Like if a movie is entertaining you, Endgame is like 3 hours long, and that flies by. So I appreciate this long. The box office for Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was $773 million. Guardians 2 was $863 million. Is this the first $1 billion Guardians movie?
I would hope so. I'm not setting any expectations for like $1 billion movies anymore. But like as close as it could get to $1 billion, it definitely deserves it. I also think moving the Marvels out of the summer will definitely help that even further. Like it'll help it kind of still have legs.
Oh, can I insert a hot take here that wasn't in the rundown? I think we're all at the end of Disney Plus is going to be 45 days. I think that's going to go by the wayside this year. There's no way. Because, like, I can see from how Quantumania has happened, which we'll get to later, like, I don't think, if you're thinking that you're going to go see Quantumania, see Guardians 3 and wait for it on Disney Plus, I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're probably going to go to the theater and see that.
I think that just makes sense because, I mean, the drop-off from week 1 to week 2 by Ant-Man, but we've seen similar drops in the previous Marvel films as well. Black Panther had some pretty good legs, but like Strange and Thor had some drops. I don't remember exactly what they were. I know Ant-Man's was considerably worse. But when these movies are coming out on streaming, like I feel it sometimes too. Like I wanted to go see Babylon, and I was like, well, I know Babylon's gonna be on Paramount Plus real soon. 3 hours, I could go spend $40 at the movies, or I could just wait a couple more weeks and see it on Paramount Plus. You know, I already have Paramount Plus. Hey, Paramount, we love you. Paramount Company, Phase Zero. But I do think that's a factor, and I think that if they delay that window, that Guardians 3 will make more money. All these movies will make more money. Like,
I feel like Avatar 2 will kind of be like a testing ground for that, because like we know James Cameron did not want that on streaming right away. Like I don't think we even know when it's going to be on Disney Plus. So I'm sure like they'll look at how successful that was given whatever new window that is, and then probably end up somewhere in between like the 45 days and whatever that is.
Avatar 2 just got announced for digital release, not streaming, not physical copy. They said you got to buy this movie virtually first before you can even have a copy of whatever sexy Blu-ray cover we release. You know that cover is going to have like some imprinted like 3D stuff you could touch, and all the those little, what are those things that pop out of the water? They're going to be like popping off the case and stuff. But they're like, but you already paid $25 for it on digital. Now you got to pay $40 to own this nice little steel book. Right? You gonna do it? Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but a lot of people will. All right, let's keep it moving here.
So Mark Ruffalo was at Emerald City Comic Con, and he was asked about the possibility of Iron Man returning. And this was his quote: "There is a time machine, and there are alternate universes and realities, so anything could happen. Are one of these boards going to fall on me?" I think just like talking about Marvel snipers. "Man, you are trying to get me into trouble again. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I'm not going to say that it is." So I know BD's the biggest Iron Man stan, so I will let him take it away. What do you think?
I wish Secret Wars was in like 2028.
Yes.
To be honest with you.
At this point with the delays, it could be. Like by the time everything gets kind of pushed back and like staggered out, I would not be surprised. Because also that had been my theory before they had even announced it, was like the 20-year anniversary of Iron Man, then you do Secret Wars and you kind of like culminate everything and be very self-indulgent. So
yeah, I want to see Robert Downey Jr. Tom Cruise. I want to see Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man again. Like I'm not afraid to say it. I want to see it, and I don't care if it's a flashback to Tony being like Tony before he was like this improved, better version of himself. The entertaining Tony Stark that I fell in love with in the movies from 2008 to 2019. Any version of him along the way, or a variant. I don't care. I just think Downey is so good at playing this character. I love the character of Iron Man. I love the character of Tony Stark. I don't think anybody can play that role the way Robert Downey Jr. did or anywhere close. Inevitably, one day there will be another Iron Man. We all know it. It's going to happen. But I don't think he's played it for the last time. I refuse to believe that. They got Harrison Ford to play Han Solo again. So I don't think it's done. I don't think Chris Evans is done with Captain America. I think at some point we're going to see this again. The problem is, I think there's been so much Marvel and so much interviews, so many episodes, so many movies that it feels like we're constantly having this conversation to the point where we haven't really had a chance to even miss them yet. Like it has been 4 years already. 4 years since Endgame. We're 3 months away from 4 years of Endgame. Or a month away from 4 years of Endgame. Yeah. And I still feel like it was like last week that we watched that movie. This time has been flying by, and we've had so much Marvel since then. And Stark has been involved in some of the stories. So I want him back. I want to see him play the part again, but I do want time to like really properly miss the character. And I would love it. Oh my gosh, would I love it if we're able to walk into the theater and not know that he's in the movie and he just shows up. But there's no way they spend $1 zillion to get him in 1 minute of a movie to not market it in advance. I get it, but I do just want more. Yeah, sorry, Aaron. What do you think of this?
I'm gonna trying to be brief, but like they're not gonna like if Captain Carter and freaking like Professor X were in the marketing for Multiverse of Madness. There's no way you're going to miss out on the big Super Bowl trailer where I am Iron Man and it pans up from the ground and you see freaking Robert Downey Jr. We all go, hooray! Like it's never going to happen.
What if you just get like? What if you just get like somebody like imagine this in the trailer, like for Secret Wars, Spider-Man who has a relationship with Tony Stark. All you see is him in another universe, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" And all you see is like a hand come up, and it's just like, pew! Like, and you don't actually see the face. And Spider-Man is like, Uncle Ben, Mr. Stark. See, Disney, hire me. Assad, you legend. I just marked.
We know you watch Assad.
Oh man! All right, yeah, I think it's inevitable, but I do want it to. I do want to give it some time. I do want to give it some time. I don't think Mark Ruffalo knows anything about this,
He's just afraid of the Marvel snipers at this point, which understandable.
All right, one more topic here. Actually, we're going to take a 1-minute break. Then we got a little bit more news. Then we've done some detective work about Avengers 5, the roster for the Kang Dynasty. Put everything together. We're putting the roster together. Who's going to be on the poster? We'll talk about it. We got a little bit more news. We'll talk about it in just a minute. Welcome back to Phase Zero, where we have the Zemo music. Yeah, I love our hold music, our elevator tunes there with Zemo pumping his fist. All right, guys. Actually, before we get back to the news, I have a bone to pick with Nashville trivia. All right. So Richard, the legendary.
Please call him out.
See, Richard knows it. Richard texted me the other day. He said, you want to come do this MCU trivia at the Assembly Hall in Nashville, Tennessee. So I said, hell yeah, let's go. That's free money. They had a $100 gift card to the Assembly Food Hall if you come in first place. All right, I got a question for y'all. This is a trivia question. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Chris Evans has portrayed what 2 characters? What's the answer? What do you think the answer is? And everybody in the comment section, especially our subscribers, please subscribe. We're so close to 11,000. But everybody in the comment section, play along. Chris Evans has played these 2 characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who are they?
I know. Does Aaron have an answer? Because if not,
go ahead, Jen. I'm pretty sure.
Captain America and Loki, because he played Loki for like the split second in Dark World.
I agree with you, Jenna. Aaron, what say you?
I would have said that those 2 as well. If we're talking about just the MCU, they tried to trip you up. Some SAT question. Yes.
This was advertised as MCU trivia. The answer they wanted was Captain America and Johnny Storm.
Yeesh.
So I had to go be a Karen, and I walked up to the lady. I was like, listen here, lady. And she did it. We came in 4th place by a few points because everybody else who said Johnny Storm got 6 points for that question. Not us. Whatever it takes, though. I looked at her, I said, listen, Johnny Storm was not in the MCU. Loki was twice in Thor: The Dark World and in Avengers Endgame. Chris Evans played Loki, and she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, honestly, though, shout out to the trivia lady. It was a fun night. She was out there asking us questions, and she did a good job. But Johnny Storm made MCU. We move on. I just had to air that out. If you're in Nashville, the Nashville trivia crew, they're really cool. They do a good job. I was sitting there. I was like, man, we're gonna lose. I'm a fraud. I didn't get that hooked up hard. Woo! All right. Jonathan Majors was asked about Quantumania's bad reviews by IndieWire, and this is what he said: "Quote: It doesn't change how I see myself. Period. It's all data. I'm a performance within a story. One thing I will say to my team as we're leaving a premiere, if they're reading reviews, I'll say, how's the movie doing? I try to clean my plate and take care of my part. The response is, you're straight, you're good, they like you. And they tell me about the movie. Sometimes the movie is also on that level, and sometimes it's not." That's got to be a weird position to be in for anybody involved with these films, because people put years of work, of not sleeping, of hours and long days on set into these films. learning these characters, learning these lines, writing these lines, directing, all that stuff. And for Jonathan Majors, it's got to be interesting to be the one person walking out of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania seemingly unscathed. Because like he said, like the people in his crew told him, they're loving you. Well, the movie, I don't know. That's interesting. And now we're in this weird landscape of Marvel movies are suddenly getting pretty bad reviews semi-frequently. And that didn't used to happen. And now people are like, we're hearing actors react to bad reviews from Marvel movies. This is interesting.
I admire Jonathan Majors' approach that, it is really just data. It's just numbers. Like what, I mean, like you said, like ask the VFX people, like if they care, like, oh man, it's like, bro, I am happy to be sitting here resting these arms and wrists after doing all of this. Listen here, every pixel of MODOK's butt had to come from somebody. I used to say all the time when people would be like, Madden is just a roster update. Tell that to the guy who animates the grass. Like it's not a game. Like it's whole years of people's lives. Chill. It's all right.
I had to put 1 trillion blades of grass just in Denver Stadium.
Right, exactly. That's someone's job. That's somebody's job. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Like, I know, dude, I just said that I liked Shazam in a tweet yesterday, and everybody's like, do you like everything? Honestly, yes, I did like Shazam quite a bit. And when I don't like a movie, I don't trash them. You don't find me on here trashing movies I don't like. I'll tell you once if I don't like it, I'll be honest. I'll be like, well, I thought it was all right, or I wanted to like it more, but will also point out things I liked because I just enjoy movies. I like going to the movies, and I also don't want to just bash people's hard work. And I'm not like, if you're a critic and you're being a critic, honestly, cool. I'm not shading anybody who does bash things or whatever. That's just not my style. So when people get mad at me for not talking a bunch of smack and saying a bunch of things, it's just not, I don't enjoy being negative. I don't enjoy just ripping things apart. That's not the conversation I want to have. I'd rather talk about things I like. If I don't like something, I say it once or twice and I move on. If I don't like it, I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about the things I like a lot more than the things I don't like. But anyway, that's my rant for the day.
Jenna.
Your rant on top of a rant. I echo what Aaron said. Like, I agree with Majors' like his whole outlook on just being in Hollywood and acting is just so fascinating to me. Like, I just want like an hour-long like TED talk from him about like his approach to acting. I think it's just like it is this weird thing where Quantumania might be flawed, but like people recognize that his portrayal is not. And like, luckily we're going to get so much of him between now and Secret Wars that it seems like people are just still going to be hyped for him. And so I'm glad that ultimately that is how that works out, but it does have to be extremely weird for him.
I mean, listen, I'm sure he's sleeping very well on 1,000 thread count sheets with the back-to-back box office number ones that no one does outside of like Tom Cruise or whatever. Like, I'm sure he's like, oh man, that kind of stinks. But also, here's my tiny cup.
The tiny cup thing. Hey, nobody can fill it. Nobody can pour it out. Just him. What do you think is what do you think is a bigger number? The thread count on Jonathan Majors' sheets right now, given all his success, or I forgot. Oh man, what was it? I had a joke. I forgot it. Oh man, what was it?
Oh,
I
no.
forgot. Damn, that was a good joke.
He's gonna remember it 20 minutes later when we're off the camera. He's like, dang it.
He's just gonna slack it to us and it'll be like,
Listen,
okay.
I need a nap. I forget what it was.
That's okay.
What it was, but then, damn, it was something funny too. But I don't know, man. I'm just blank. Anyway, all right. Well, we got one more news topic here before we talk about Avengers 5.
I will say before we get off of talking about Majors, Creed 3 is excellent. Like, it is so good. He does such a good job in it. So please go see that. I was going to plug that at the end of the show because he did an amazing job. But yeah, for our last piece of news for the day, Kevin Feige and Michael Waldron's Star Wars movie is apparently no longer in active development at Lucasfilm, according to Variety. It and Patty Jenkins's Rogue Squadron are kind of being put on the back burner. So I think like the implication of this is probably they're now focusing on Secret Wars and they're trying to like focus on the MCU itself as opposed to Feige also going over to Star Wars. But like, what do y'all think?
I think Star Wars is a mess.
Yeah.
We need a Galaxy something comic book Star Wars podcast for what Brandon wants to say here. I'm sure there's a lot of people who work here who have similar things. Richard has thoughts.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi is talking about putting himself in his own Star Wars movie, according to these reports. Somebody in our chat yesterday, Jen, it might have been you, who said that guy's flying a little too close to the sun right now. I mean, listen, I love Taika. I think Taika's talented as super talented, super funny, clever, good writer, good director. I don't judge him based on Thor: Love and Thunder exclusively, and I don't think Thor: Love and Thunder is as bad as everybody else says it is. I just don't think it's particularly good after putting some thought into it. But I don't know. Star Wars just seems like ever since that Rise of Skywalker is just. I mean, is it even a movie? Last Jedi. I'm not a Last Jedi fan. Like, I think it's. I know.
I just got PTSD from when Charlie was on here and debated back and forth with you about that for like 10 minutes. I just miss Star Wars movies. Like, it is this weird thing of like, it's been as long as Captain Marvel, basically. It's been 2019 since we got a Star Wars movie, but it feels so much longer. Like, I hope we can get to the point where we have one. I know it sounds like they're probably going to tell us it's Celebration, whatever they're doing. I'm just glad in the grand scheme of things that like Feige and Waldron are focusing on Secret Wars, because just based on those interviews Feige was doing last month about like, yeah, we're going to pace out some things and we're going to change the way we're approaching certain things. Don't stretch him even further by also giving him a Star Wars movie. Like, that just seems like way too much right now.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge some of our comment sections. I want to correct myself as I have been corrected. I said Star Wars is a mess. Star Wars TV is excellent. I really am enjoying, with few exceptions, like being just a couple episodes really. Like the early episode, like 2, 3, and 4 of Book of Boba Fett, I didn't really care for. Mandalorian's great. I really enjoyed Obi-Wan. I know some people, now that show has been removed and the excitement is gone, the opinions have gone down a bit. I stand by it. I really enjoyed Obi-Wan. Andor was phenomenal. It took a couple episodes to get going for me, but then once it did, like that Kino Loy stuff, the prison, oh my gosh, like I thought Andor was brilliant. So I don't know. I think Star Wars on TV is working. I think behind the scenes, it seems the movie stuff just can't get it. It can't figure itself out, but that could be a good thing. Maybe they are just finding the right story. And yes, in terms of Kevin Feige and Michael Waldron, that they do need to focus on Marvel right now. And I'm happy that they are. And I hope that Secret Wars ends up being the big culmination, the big payoff that we want it to be. And I don't know, that'd be hard to imagine being able to make Secret Wars as good as it needs to be and as big as it needs to be while also making a freaking Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Charmene for dodging the band hammer. Yeah, her movie is safe. That's all I really cared about. So I'm good.
Yeah, very hoped for that one.
All right, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we've been doing some detective work. We've been listening to every interview Jeff Loveness does. Simu Liu's out here chirping a little bit, if you remember, back in December. And we're putting together the Avengers 5 roster as best we can. So in a minute, let's talk about Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and who we expect to be in that movie. See you there. Welcome back to Phase Zero, Season 3, Episode 10. BD, Aaron, and Jana are with you. Jamie will be back with us next week. All right. Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. This is going to be basically the new Avengers, the movie. We're going to have a whole new roster for the most part, I believe. We might have a couple returning Avengers. It's hard to figure this one out just yet. But people are doing interviews. People are talking. People involved with Avengers: The Kang Dynasty are spilling details. Maybe they're not supposed to, or maybe they are. Maybe it's just a little trickle, a little sprinkle just to keep us excited and keep us talking. And talking is what we will do. So this last portion of Phase Zero today, we're going to talk about who we know or who we expect or who is rumored to be on the Avengers roster in Avengers 5, which is in May of 2025 and should start filming probably, I'd say, at the latest early next year, if not the end of this year. Because if it's a big movie, they got to get the camera, the film rolling. So, who we know so far. Shang-Chi's a lock for this, right? Destin Daniel Craig is directing it. you have to bring Shang-Chi from his movie. The director's there. Simu Liu's got to be there. And if you remember the box lunch interview I did with Simu Liu back in December, I asked him what he thinks about Destin, working on Kang Dynasty, doing an Avengers movie. And he said, I just can't wait to work with him again. So we were like, got him. You're in Kang Dynasty, right? So, yes, it makes sense that Shang-Chi would be in Kang Dynasty. Jeff Loveness. I did one interview with him. This was not on video. This was not the interview that's on the Phase Zero channel. And he, out of the blue, unsolicited, said he's really excited to write for Namor. That man is writing Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. He did not write Namor in Quantumania. So now we're all like, okay, hold on a second. Namor? He's back? Kang Dynasty? That'll be an interesting dynamic. Then in the follow-up interview we did on last week's episode of Phase Zero, thank you to everybody who listened and supported that. He said specifically, I said, what actors, what characters are you excited to work with? And he said Florence Pugh and Letitia Wright really stand out. So not necessarily 100% confirmation, but it sounds like Yelena Belova is not only going to be a major player in the Thunderbolts, but also in Avengers, in the Avengers roster in Kang Dynasty. And Shuri, the new Black Panther, is going to be a big part of it, which I'm here for. I think all these four characters together, Shuri and Namor make sense too. Them having to kind of work together after forming kind of an uneasy alliance at the end of Wakanda Forever. Then there's the Spider-Man rumors. There's Kevin Feige confirms Spider-Man 4 is in development, which means, this is tinfoil hat territory for the Kang Dynasty roster. We already know Sony owes Marvel Studios and Disney one more Spider-Man appearance in a non-Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man 4. This is from the interview at the Spider-Man No Way Home premiere, with the interview with Tom Rothman, the CEO, the chairman over at Sony Pictures. So if Spider-Man 4 is happening, that means there is at least another appearance if that deal is unchanged, which would mean Spider-Man 4, and it could be Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And then you guys could end the deal. Like I said, I'm disappearing. You'll never see me again after Secret Wars. It's all good. So it sounds like Spider-Man's going to be there. Grace Randolph did a YouTube video where she said that Destin Daniel Cretton wants Hulk, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight on the team. Who, I don't know if that's true. She even prefaced it and said, well, maybe this could change. Who knows? I like this. I like where this is going. And then the one that I'm just going to throw out there that makes sense, that has to be there, Captain Marvel. And I think in the Marvels, we'll get some ties. We'll see how Carol is keeping in touch with Avengers characters. She already met Shang-Chi. Bruce Banner already met Shang-Chi. Wong already met Shang-Chi. So if the Avengers need to call some super friends, I feel like Captain Marvel, Shang-Chi, Bruce Banner, they all have all the connections right themselves there. So that's the roster as I see it so far. What do you guys think? Did you guys see anything else or pick up any? Am I off here?
I feel like Aaron is scheming, so I'll let Aaron go first.
I'm just looking at the list trying to think about who else would be there.
For me, Doctor Strange and Clea.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And Wong, I would almost throw in there too, because it's like Wong. It's the Wong cinematic universe at this point. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. Throw him in there too. But I don't know.
I also have two really harebrained things that I would just like to see, but I don't know if they're actually going to happen. I think one of the Eternals will be in this thing. Just one. Okay. Either it's Angelina Jolie.
Who do you think?
I think Angelina Jolie. Because she's the warrior, and if I'm not mistaken, she's off on the. See, this is how long it's been since we've checked in on it. She's on the spaceship with Harry Styles, right?
Yeah, it's her, Harry Styles, Barry Keoghan, and Makari.
All right. Show resolution never to call him actually the name of the character, just calling him Harry Styles. Star Fox, he's just Harry Styles.
Yeah.
So her, and I think, and this is so harebrained, this is just all the social media fervor. I think Miles is in this.
Miles.
Wow.
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales is in this thing, yeah. For sure.
Wow.
Aaron the Prophet. I mean, Aaron has been.
If you read some of the things that have been on the internet, I'm not going to tell you where to go to get them. I feel like there might be two Spider-Men. And then when Brandon Davis's whole Tom Holland looking shook by alternate, mirror universe Tony Stark happens, Miles is going to be like, who is this guy? Why are you freezing? We got stuff to do. I feel like that's going to happen.
That would be, man, if they get Miles introduced. Miles Morales is the hottest Marvel character in the world right now. So I do. I can't. I'm honestly surprised that he's not a character who has already been booked for a live action thing that we know about. It's crazy to me that he's not. Granted, I don't really care because the Spider-Verse movies are fantastic. That said, him coming to the MCU. I mean, does that mean you bring back Donald Glover? Not as his new, Sony
Hypno
Sony
Hustler.
movie.
Yeah.
But
Hypno
as
Hustler
Aaron.
Kang Dynasty confirmed.
See, okay, the chat has been saying Madison, and I'm now like unironically,
Sure.
can we please throw Madison into
sounds
King
great.
Dynasty?
I mean,
please?
hey, with a Y, but not
Yes.
what you think.
Yeah.
Kang Dynasty with two Y's. Two Y's.
2 N's and a Y. There are 2 N's and a Y.
I think it would also, it kind of feels like it would make sense to have Loki in there too.
Yeah.
Because Loki and Sylvie started it all. Do you think Sylvie makes the jump to movies?
I don't know. Maybe.
Man.
See, like Damon is in the chat. Literally any character that can be named, Damon is in the chat. Like, sure, you could probably make the argument. And that's about where I'm at of like anyone and everyone could be in this movie. We know anyone and everyone could be in Secret Wars, but just like if we've seen a character since Endgame, I feel like there's an argument to be made that they could be in this movie. So
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you guys think you think Sylvie's going to be in Deadpool? Because that would give her the sort of weird big screen introduction for the rest of the people, so that when her and Loki show up, it's not like, who is this woman? Like, Harpo, who's this woman? Like that, it wouldn't be that, you know.
I could see that. I don't know at this point though. Like it's just everything is just so in flux. I have no idea.
I mean, this has been the multiverse saga, and we've barely got to see like one other universe.
Well,
and then
yeah. Yeah.
That's why I think Miles might be in it, because we care about Miles. Everybody loves freaking Into the Spider-Verse. No one wants to see the kid's parents and the rest of that world die.
Yeah.
Like Peter B. Parker's got to raise the little girl. Like
Yeah.
you can't have dad bod Spider-Man die. That's not cool.
That's true. That's true. We don't really care about the X-Men universe anymore. Like, I mean, I say we. I know I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but if they were like, we killed the Fox universe, you get the X-Men now in the MCU, people would be like, oh, okay, fair trade.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it would be kind of crazy to have to see all those characters get wiped. Like that. To your point, I think we have to see a pre-existing established universe, and I don't know that the MCU has the time to build one before Secret Wars. If we're going to care about incursions for the sake of the other universes being saved, they got to do something with the universe we care about. The only other one I could think about maybe is Andrew Garfield's universe, because that one gets a lot of love. So if that universe were at stake, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, that would be one thing. But the Spider-Verse universe,
He's
good
just
luck
a
to the
kid.
effect artists pulling that off. That combination.
Man, nah, like it would be crushing. Like we were laughing like in like the side chats about what could you possibly do that would make me as sad as freaking Tom Holland turning to dust, and freaking Miles losing everything would break me in the exact same way. I'd be like, wow, that's crazy. So that's part of why I'm like, if you were willing to dangle that carrot out here, I know it's like cheap story writing 101 to be like, let's just go ahead and torture this kid. Shout out to all of you who watched The Last of Us. But it works.
I mean, a good writer makes you love a character. A great writer makes you suffer for it.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but I've said it, I've repeated it a million times. And by it.
Big like Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky thing. It's Vince quote.
All right, y'all. Well, that's our show today. That's the team we think is going to be on the roster in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Shang-Chi, Namor, Yelena, Shuri, Spider-Man, Hulk, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, maybe. Captain Marvel, Loki, probably. And probably a couple others, I'd say. But we'll see. Secret Wars, I think, is where it goes really big, though. So Kang Dynasty is going to be exciting. I hope Kang Dynasty doesn't feel like a stepping stone the way Age of Ultron did going into Civil War. I hope Kang Dynasty gets its flowers, gets a chance to really make an impact and be appreciated in its moment, not like in the sense that we're already seeing set photos from Secret Wars that we're looking forward to. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be interesting how they pull this off, and we're here for the ride. So, all right, y'all. Aaron, any last words for today's show?
It's at Something Like Hornet on Twitter. Go read I'll go be anticipatory of Stephanie Williams writing a Peacemaker weird explainer with a foreword by James Gunn. Shout out to the first day of all of us be like, yeah, International Women's Day, and kick it in the door. I'm so excited for that.
Jenna?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on all the social medias. Like I said, go watch Creed 3. It is excellent. The final fight is one of the wildest action sequences I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so good. And as always, go read some comics. Go read what Aaron recommended. Just there's a new issue of Scarlet Witch out this week where she teams up with Polaris and they go to Subatomica. It's very good. There's a lot of Darcy stuff in there. There's so many good comics this week. So go read some comics.
Oh,
I love it.
Can we plug Brandon? Because Layla's right. Like, go stream The Last of Pods.
Yeah.
Go listen to Bella Ramsey talk about being like in emotional like turmoil, like we just described in great detail with Ash Crossan and her lovely dog.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who's been listening to The Last of Pods. We had a great episode with Bella Ramsey. Bella was awesome. And that's on the comicbook.com YouTube channel and every major podcast platform. Thank you, Layla. Love from the Twitch chat. Thank you guys for bringing that up. And you heard it here first from the prophet, Aaron Perrine, Miles Morales, the dark horse pick for Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Hit me up at Brandon Davis PD if you want to talk more. Please subscribe to the Phase Zero YouTube channel. We got over 100 people watching. No special guests today. We love that. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit that subscribe so we can hit up to 11K. What? We're climbing. We're the best show ever. Thanks to all of you. See you next week, everybody.